with Jalen Waddle. I understand that. But here's the thing. I think they're going to put a hat on Tua Tagovailoa. I think they're going to put a hat on them. They're going to put some pressure on them. They're going to hit them a lot. And I think that's the reason why. San Francisco wins this game. It'll be close, but they'll win this game.
Listen, I never want to count out a team that can score so explosively, but without the left tackle Armstead, and you got Nick Bosa over there and those guys over there eating, D'Amico Ryan has that defense playing at a top level. You talk about a defense that hasn't given up a score in the second half. That means they adjust well. You know, McDonald knows everything that he knows from Shanahan. So this is kind of like, you know, the teacher versus the pupil. And let's see what goes down. I mean, I think the San Francisco 49ers are the most dangerous team in all of football going into postseason because the run game and defense travels well. I don't know if Miami can take the show on the road in the elements on the grass surface. And we're going to find out a lot about the Miami Dolphins in the next 3 weeks as they got to go back out west and play the Chargers. Then they have to go up to Orchard Park and play the team that Stephen A. believes is the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to find out a lot about the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa now that he's going to have some heat on him.
No, for sure, and I'm looking forward to that. That's a good point. Bart, how about Titans-Eagles? Who you got, Bart? Team in yards allowed, but Miami's offense has been hard to stop this year, and it starts with their quarterback as Tua's impact on the Dolphins' success this season cannot be overlooked. The Fins are 8-0 this season when he plays at least 50% of the team snaps. Tua's logged 5 straight games with a pass TD and 0 interceptions, which is tied with himself for the longest streak in Dolphins history. Dan, back here with us. Dan, tell me this. Will Tua show out versus that stout Niners D? What do you think?
Yeah, he's gonna. And I love the Niners D. But Tua's going to play well. Tua hasn't played poorly this year. We don't have evidence that Tua has played a poor game. There is not a game that he has started this year and finished that he doesn't have a passer rating over 100. That's absurd. Cincinnati is the one game when he got injured, and then Houston he played for like 2.5 quarters last week. Those are the only 2 games this year that he doesn't have a passer rating game over 100. Candidly, Molly, he's only had 1 poor game in his last like 16 or 17 starts. Go back to last year. I think it was the end of the season, maybe versus Tennessee, where he played poorly. Over the course of really the last season of starts, Tua's played really good football. And the reality is this, even with Teron Armstead out, I believe that because of the style of defense that San Francisco plays, it's a good matchup for Miami. They'll get the ball in his hands quickly. They'll be in a RPO-based offense. They'll do a ton of pre-snap motion and movement. They'll move Tua a lot. I don't have any reason to think that Tua is not going to play well given what he's done under Mike McDaniel this year in Miami.
Dan Orlovsky, we shall see. It's a first time for everything, my brother. And let me tell you something. This San Francisco 49ers defense, #1 in points allowed.
I love them.
#1 in yards allowed. #1 against the run. Top 11 against the pass. You know me, it's about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and how sensational they can be and how they can get open against anybody. But we also got to pay attention, and let me be very serious when I say this. I'm not wishing this. I'm not wishing any harm on Tua Tagovailoa whatsoever. Zero. I want him healthy, ready to go, and I want his career to continue to flourish. San Francisco's physical. And physicality might be Tua's Achilles heel. Now, we saw what happened against Cincinnati. Now, last week, it was more the leg than anything, the way he was taken down and his body bent backward. I was just happy to see him get up. But San Francisco is going to go after him because with him being accurate, with him being a nice deep ball thrower, with him having weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to dip and dunk to, and they can do the rest and what have you, with him having those capabilities available to him, the one way you go after him is to be as physical with him as you possibly can get away with, okay? And San Francisco is going to be that team. Offensively, listen, they got Kittles, they got McCaffrey, they got Debo, they've got weapons, and we know that. But I think that this game is going to be decided in the trenches. They're going to go after Tua. And we're going to see what happens and whether or not he can withstand the heat that they're about to bring his way, because they consider him relatively miniature and, dare I say, fragile. And as a result of that, that's what they're going to try to do to him, because that's what I would do. If I got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to worry about, That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to put a hat on them as often as I could possibly get away with if I'm the San Francisco 49ers. And they have the capability, more so than almost any other team in the National Football League, to do just that.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point on San Francisco's physicality. I think every defense tries to get after every quarterback, specifically.
I'm just talking about people who can, and there are those who can.
San
and many who
Francisco can. I think Miami's way too smart, both Mike McDaniel foundationally and fundamentally, but also the reality of him knowing that left tackle that they have, Teron Armstead, is not playing. He's not going to have Tua sitting back there holding on to the football. This will be a horizontal game. They will kick a ton of perimeter screens out there. They'll use their backs in the pass game. They will live in the RPO. If they are going to try to take a couple shots to push the ball downfield, he will go max protection. I don't think that they're going to sit there and fool themselves into thinking, well, we're just going to be able to block him up, and our offensive line's good enough. I just think that Mike is too smart, and he's going to make sure that they play this game sideline to sideline and not ask this offensive line to protect. That's why, and I think Tua's going to get the ball in his hands quickly. His completion percentage will probably be over 75%, and it's really going to come down to, do they excel in the run after the catch or the yards after the catch with their perimeter players? Can their backs make some plays in their screen game? And then how effective is their RPO world? I don't think that they're going to ask Tua to hang on to the football long.